Okay, so we are at stage 9, paragraph page 755. Okay, and our last headword was death, new word type of
That,
lesson. Okay, so let's start with revision. Let me just
sure.
scroll down. Okay, here we go. First question. Okay, so do people behave differently from how they normally do when they think they're not being observed by others? Do people behave differently from how they normally do when they think they're not being observed by others? Yes or no?
Yes,
People behave
people
differently
behave
from how
differently
they normally
from
do
how they normally
when they
do
think
when
they're
they
not
think
being observed. They're not
by
they're not
they are
being observed
they are not being observed
by others.
by others.
Very good. Why do you think this is? Why do you think this is? I think this
I
is
think
because
this is because people have different senses, ideas, views, personalities, etc.
etc. Very good. Okay. Does a detective need to have good powers of observation? Does a detective need to have good powers of observation? Yes, a detective
Yes,
needs
a
to
detective
have
needs to
good
have
powers of
good powers
observations.
of observations.
Very good. Do you think it's right for governments to spend public money on preserving historic buildings? Or do you think public money should be spent in other ways? Do you think it's right for government to spend public money on preserving historic buildings? Or do you think public money should be spent in other ways? I think
I think
it's
it's
right
right
for
for
governments to
government
spend public
to
money
spend public
on
money
preserving
on
historic
preserving
buildings.
historic buildings.
Very good. What's a pole? What's a pole? A pole is the
A
foot of
pole
an
is the
animal
food of any
which has
animal.
claws
It has a
like that
dog.
of a cat,
It, it
which
has
has claws
a clothes
like that of a cat,
like that of a
a
cat,
dog,
a
a lion,
dog, a
etc.
lion, etc.
Very good. What's a wooden hut? What's a wooden hut? A wooden hut
A wooden
is a hut
hat
made of
is a
wood.
hat made of wood.
What's a woolen hat? What's a woolen hat? A woolen hat
A
is a
wooden
hat
hat
made of
is a
wool.
hat made of wool.
What's a silk dress? What's a silk dress? A silk dress
A silk
is a
dress
dress
is
made
a
of silk.
dress made of silk.
What's silken hair? What's silken hair? Silken hair is
Silken
hair,
hair
which is soft. Is hair,
is hair.
which is soft
It is soft
and smooth like silk.
and smooth like silk.
What's a gold watch? What's a gold watch? A gold watch
A gold
is a
watch
watch made of
is a
gold.
watch made of gold.
What's golden skin? What's golden skin? Golden skin is
Golden
skin
skin
that
is
looks
skin
like gold
that
in
looks like
color.
gold in color.
Very good. Okay, do you have English lessons every day or every other day? Do you have English lessons every day or every other day? I have English
I have
lessons.
English lessons every other day.
Very good. If you notice somebody struggling to get a pushchair onto a bus, would you assist them? If you notice somebody struggling to get a pushchair onto a bus, would you assist them? Yes or no?
Yes, I
If I notice
noticed. If
somebody
I notice
struggling
somebody
to
struggling
get a pushchair
to get a
onto a
pushchair
bus,
onto a
I'd
bus,
assist them.
I'd assist them.
Very good. Would you say the shop assistants in your country are reasonably polite and helpful? Would you say the shop assistants in your country were reasonably polite and helpful? Yes or no?
Yes,
I'd
I'd
say the
say
shop
the shop
assistants in my
assistants in my
country were
country
reasonably
were
polite
reasonably
and helpful.
polite and helpful.
Very good. If someone called you on your mobile and you were otherwise engaged with something important, would you take the call? If someone called you on your mobile and you were otherwise engaged with something important, would you take the call? Yes or no?
No,
If someone called
if
me
someone
on
called
my
me
mobile
on my
and I
mobile
was
and
otherwise
I was otherwise
engaged with something
engaged with
important,
something
I
important,
wouldn't take the
I
call.
wouldn't take the call.
If a car had one broken window but otherwise was in a good condition, would you buy it? If a car had one broken window but otherwise was in a good condition, would you buy it? Yes or no?
No.
If a car
If
had
a
one
car
broken
had
window
one broken
but
window
otherwise
but
was in good condition,
otherwise was in good
I
condition,
wouldn't buy it.
I wouldn't buy it.
Very good. If you had to perform in a play, what kind of part would you like to perform? If you had to perform in a play, what kind of part would you like to perform? If I had to perform
If I had to
in a
perform
play,
in a
I'd like
play,
to perform
I'd like to
the part
perform
of
the part of secondary characters.
very good, like supporting actor.
according to
Very
height.
good. Okay. Can you perform any magic tricks? Can you perform any magic tricks? Yes or no?
No, I
I
can't perform any magic
Magic
tricks.
tricks. Very good. Name an actor who you think always gives good performances in films. Name an actor who you think always gives good performances in film. An actor who
An
I think
actor who I
always
think
gives good
always gives
performances
good
in films
performances in films
is
is a Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp. Very good. What kind of people do you envy? What kind of people do you envy? I envy.
I envy the rich.
Very good. Are you envious of the fame that celebrities have? Are you envious of the fame that celebrities have? Yes or no?
No,
I'm not
I'm not
envious of the
envious of
fame
the fames
that celebrities
that
have.
celebrities have.
Very good. What's the difference between advice and advice? What's the difference between advice and advice? The difference between
The difference
advice and
between
advice
advice and
is that
advice is
advice is
that
a noun,
advice is a noun,
whereas advice
whereas
is a verb.
advice is a verb.
What's the difference in spelling between the noun practice and the verb practice? What's the difference between the noun practice and the verb practice? The difference in
The
spelling
difference in
between the
spelling
noun
between
practice
the noun
and the
practice
verb
and the
practice
verb
is that
practice
the noun
is that the
is spelled
noun
CE,
is spelled CE,
whereas the verb
whereas the
is
verb
spelled
is
SE.
spelled SE.
Very good. And what's the difference between the noun license and the verb license? What's the difference between the noun license and the verb license? The difference between
The difference
the noun
between
license
the noun
and the
license
verb license
and the verb
is the
license
same.
is the
The
same.
noun is
The
spelled
noun
CE,
is spelled CE,
whereas the verb
whereas the
is spelled
verb
FE.
is spelled SE.
Very good. What's the difference between the words record and record? What's the difference between the words record and record? The difference between
The difference
the words
between
record
the words
and record
record and
is that
record is that
record is a noun,
record is a noun,
whereas record
whereas
is a verb.
record is a verb.
Very good. Can you think of any sporting record that has been broken recently? Can you think of any sporting record that has been broken recently? Yes or no? I
No,
can't think
I
of
can't
any
think of
sporting record
any sporting
that has
record
been broken
that has been
recently.
broken recently.
Have you ever recorded your own voice? Have you ever recorded your own voice? Yes or no?
Yes,
I've recorded my
I
own voice.
recorded my own voice.
What did it sound like? What did it sound like? It sounded like
It sounds like mm,
somebody
the
else.
voice. Yes, somebody else,
Somebody.
and the one that sounds totally different from my one singing.
That's correct. Our recording usually sounds different from our real voice.
Yeah, yeah, sounds even
Okay.
strange.
Okay. Next. Why do farmers sometimes plant seeds carefully in the ground in rows rather than just scatter them on the land? Why do farmers sometimes plant seeds carefully in the ground in rows rather than just scatter them on the land? Farmers sometimes
Formal
plant
sometimes
seed carefully, plant
plant,
seed carefully
plant seeds
in the
carefully
ground in row
in the ground in
rather
row
than just
rather
scatter
than
them
just
on the
scatter
land
them on the
to
land
prevent
to
birds
prevent
from
birds
eating them
from
or
eating
the wind
them
from
or the
blowing them
wind from
away.
blowing them away.
Weged, why does a disorderly crowd of people scatter when the police arrive? Why does a disorderly crowd of people scatter when the police arrive? A disorderly crowd
A
of
disorderly
people
crowd of
scatters
people
when the
scatters
police arrive
when the police
because the
arrive
people are
because
afraid
people
of
are
being
afraid
arrested
of being
or hit
arrested
by the police,
or hit by the
etc.
police, etc.
Very good. Okay, next. What am I doing? What am I doing? You're tapping
You're
your
tapping your
fingers on the
finger or
table.
fingers on the table.
In which direction does one normally turn a water tap on? In which direction does one normally turn a water tap on? One normally
One
turns a
normally
water
turns
tap
a
on
water tap
in an
on in an
anti-clockwise
anti-clockwise
direction.
direction.
Very good. Is pollution a more serious problem now than it was 100 years ago? Is pollution a more serious problem now than it was 100 years ago? Yes, pollution is
Yes,
a more
pollution
serious
is a
problem
more
now
serious problem
than it
now
was a
than it
hundred years
was
ago.
100 years ago.
Are most of the rivers in your country heavily polluted? Are most of the rivers in your country heavily polluted? Yes or no?
No,
Most of the
most of the
rivers in my
rivers in my
country aren't
country
heavily polluted.
aren't heavily polluted.
Very good. What does the idiom get the wrong end of the stick mean? What does the idiom get the wrong end of the stick mean? The idiom "get
The
the
idiom
wrong end
get
of
the
the
wrong
stick"
end of
means
a stick means
understand something wrongly.
understand something wrongly.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. Every time you
Every
explain
time you
anything to him,
explain anything to
he
him,
always seems
he always
to get the
seems
wrong end
to
of the
get the
stick.
wrong end of the stick.
Very good. Okay, give me an example of was or were followed by an infinitive with to. Give me an example of the word was or were followed by an infinitive with to, please. We trusted him
We,
completely.
we
We
trusted
trusted
him
him,
completely,
but we were to find
but
out
we were
later.
too.
Find out later.
We find out later.
Margot, one more. We trusted him
We
completely,
trusted him
but
completely,
we were to find
but
out
we were
later
to find
that
to find
find out later
find out later
that he had been
that
lying
he had
all the
been
time.
lying all the time.
Very good. What do we mean by a slight headache? What do we mean by a slight headache? By a slight headache,
By a slight
we mean
headache,
a headache
we mean a
which
headache
is not very
which
strong.
is not very strong.
What do we mean by a slight delay? What do we mean by a slight delay? By a slight delay,
By a
we
slight
mean
delay,
a delay
we mean a
which is
delay
very short.
which is very short.
What then does the word slight mean? What then does the word slight mean? The word slight
The
means
word slight means
small and usually
small and
unimportant.
usually unimportant.
Very good. Okay, what am I doing? What am I doing? You're turning your book
You are
upside
turning a
down.
book upside down.
What am I doing? What am I doing? You're turning your
You're
book
turning a
the right
book
way up.
the right way up.
Very good. Okay, is it true that birds are the only animals in the world that have feathers? Is it true that birds are the only animals in the world that have feathers? Yes, it's true
Yes,
that
it's
birds
true that birds
are the only
are
animal
the
in the
only
world
animal in
that
the
have
world
feathers.
that has feathers.
Very good. What did happen if I kept rubbing my sleeves on the edge of the table like this? What did happen if I kept rubbing my sleeves on the edge of the table like this? If you rubbing,
If you
kept kept rubbing like past tense.
kept
If you kept
rubbing,
rubbing your sleeves,
if you kept rubbing your sleeves,
you'd wear a hole
you
in
wear
your
a hole
sleeves.
in your sleeves.
Very good. What do we do with the clothes that are worn out? What do we do with clothes that are worn out? We mend or
We
throw
mend
away
or
clothes
throw away
that
clothes
are worn out.
that are worn out.
If I told you I was feeling worn out, what would I mean? If I told you I was feeling worn out, what would I mean? If you told me
If you
you
told
were
me
feeling worn out,
you were feeling worn
you'd
out,
mean you were
you'd
exhausted.
mean you were exhausted.
Greg, which do you think is more important for finding a new job, experience or qualifications? Which do you think is more important for finding a new job, experience or qualifications? I think
I think
it's
qualifications
more important
is more
than
important
experience
and experience
for
than
finding
experience
a new job.
mm,
For
for finding a
finding,
new job.
very good. Okay, what does it mean to be in debt? What does it mean to be in debt? To be in debt
To
means
be in debt
that
means
we owe
that
somebody
we
something,
owe somebody
usually
something,
money.
usually money.
Greg, if you don't manage your credit card account properly, is it easy to get into debt? If you don't manage your credit card account properly, is it easy to get into debt? Yes. If you don't
Yes, if
manage
you don't
your
manage
credit card
your
account
credit card
properly,
account
it's
properly,
easy to get
it's
into
easy
debt.
to get into debt.
Very good. Okay, so that's the end of our revision. Let's have new word.
Mm.
Okay, so let's start. Okay, repeat. Interrupt.
Interrupt.
Interruption.
Interruption.
Very good. Okay, interrupt is a verb. If you interrupt someone who is speaking, you say or do something that causes them to stop. For example, when we interrupt someone who is speaking, we say, "Excuse me," to be polite. Interruption is a noun. It is an occasion when someone or something stops something from happening for a short period. For example, when there's an interruption on television live, they say, "We're sorry for the interruption." Let's practice. What do we say when we interrupt someone who's speaking? What do we say when we interrupt someone who's speaking? When we interrupt
When
someone
we
who's
interrupt
speaking,
someone who's
we say,
speaking,
"Excuse
we
me."
say, "Excuse me."
What do they say on television when there's an interruption? What do they say on television when there's an interruption? When there's an
When there's
interruption
an
on
interruption
television,
on
they
television,
say, We
We say,
apologize
we
for the
apologize
interruption.
for the interruption.
Very good. Next, repeat. If only.
If only,
Very good. Okay, listen. When we want to be emphatic, we can say if only instead of I wish. For example, instead of saying I wish I could take a holiday, we can say if only I could take a holiday. So it's more emphatic. Instead of saying I wish I had gone to bed earlier last night, we can say if only I had gone to bed earlier last night. Let's practice. What can we say instead of I wish? What can what can we say instead of I wish when we want to be emphatic? What can we say instead of I wish when we want to be emphatic? We can say if
we can
only
say, if
instead of
only,
I
instead
wish
of I
when we
wish,
want to be
when we
emphatic.
want to be emphatic.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. I hate this job.
I hate this
If
job.
only I
If
hadn't
only
accepted
I
it. Hadn't,
had,
hadn't. If
hadn't.
only I hadn't accepted
If
it.
only I hadn't accepted it.
Very good. Next, repeat act.
Act,
Capable.
capable.
Very good. Okay, listen. Act is a noun. It is something that is done or performed. For example, an act of bravery or a charitable. The best way to judge a person is by how he acts. Capable. The word capable is an adjective. It means able to do things well. For example, I believe that all humans are capable of acts of great kindness. Let's practice. Do you believe all humans are capable of acts of great kindness? Do you believe all humans are capable of acts of great kindness? Yes or no? I
Yes.
believe all
I believe
humans
all
are
humans
capable of
are
act
capable of act
of great kindness.
break of great kindness.
What's the best way to judge a person by what he says or how he acts? What's the best way to judge a person by what he says or how he acts? The best way
The
to
best
judge a
way
person
to judge a
is
person
by
is by how he acts.
very good. Okay. Oh, Ken, we're going to skip reading again. Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Maybe
Next,
it.
repeat bar.
Bar.
Very good. So next time, other teachers can give you reading because
Hmm,
the gap
great.
is very short.
Sounds
Okay.
great.
Next, bar and then lock.
Bar and lock.
Okay. Listen. The word bar is a noun. It is a solid piece of something that is shaped like a rectangle. For example, a bar of gold, a bar of iron, etc. Bar is also like the name of the place where you drink. Bar. For example, bar ground floor windows of some houses have bars so that thieves can't easily break into the house. Bar can also be a verb. It means to stop someone from doing something or from entering a place. For example, clubs and pubs or bars sometimes bar particular people from entering because they have behaved very badly on a previous occasion. So another word for that, bar or ban. Let's practice. Which is heavier, a bar of gold or a bar of iron? Which is heavier, a bar of gold or a bar of iron? A bar of gold
A
is
bar of gold
heavier
is
than a
heavier
bar of
than
iron.
a bar of iron.
Very good. Would it be healthy to have a whole bar of chocolate every day? Would it be healthy to eat a whole bar of chocolate every day? Yes or no?
No,
It wouldn't be
it
healthy
wouldn't be
to eat
healthy
a whole
to
bar
eat
of
a whole
chocolate
bar of
every day.
chocolate every day.
Yeah, but it would be nice. Okay, next. Is it fairly common to find bars on the ground floor windows of houses in your country? Is it fairly common to find bars on the ground floor windows of houses in your country? Yes or no?
No,
It isn't fairly
it is
common
in very common
to find bars
to
on
find
the ground
bars
floor
on the
windows
ground floor
of
windows
houses in my
of
country.
houses in my country.
Very good. What do we mean if we say that the police have barred a road? What do we mean if we say that the police have barred a road? If we say
If we
that the
say
police
that
have
the police
barred a road,
have barred a
we mean
road,
they
we
have put
mean
something
they have put
across the
something
road to
across the
prevent
road
cars
and prevent
from
cars
going along it.
from going
Along
along
it.
it.
Very good. Why do clubs and pubs sometimes bar particular people from entering? Why do clubs and pubs sometimes bar particular people from entering? clubs and pubs,
Pubs and
some
clubs and pubs sometimes
sometimes bar particular
bar
people
particular
from
people
entering
from
because
entering
they have
because
behaved
they
very
have
badly
behaved very
on a
badly
previous occasion.
on the previous occasion.
Very good. Next repeat. Cart.
Caught
Cart. Very good.
a
Okay.
cart.
Listen, cart is a noun. It is an open two-wheeled carriage. When we say to put the cart, okay, let's put it there. When we say to put the cart before the horse, it is an expression. It means to do things in the wrong order. For example, learning to read and write a language before learning to speak and understand it is like putting the cart before the horse, as a language should be listened to first, then spoken, then read, and then finally written. Let's practice. What does the
ん
expression?
あと1分で終わる。So, so,
Okay,
so
very
that's my father.
good. Okay, what does the expression to put the cart before the horse mean? What does the expression to put the cart before the horse mean? The expression
The
to put the
expression
cart
to put the
before the
cart
horse means
before the horse
to
means
do things
to do
in the
things
wrong order.
in the wrong order.
Okay, give me an example. Give me an example, please. Learning to read and write.
Learning and
To
read and
read and
write.
write a language
Read
before.
and read,
One more.
read
Learning to read and
learning
write
to read and write
a language
a
before
language
learning to speak
before
and
learning to
understand it
speak and understand
is
it
like putting the cart
is like putting the
before the
cart
horse,
before the
as a
horse.
language should
As a
be listened
language
to
should
first,
be listened to first,
then spoken,
then spoken,
then read, and
then
then
read,
finally written.
and then finally written.
Very good. Okay, so we stop there for today, but
Good.
very good.